Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. Hit that sub button if you're new. We're here to give you great NFL content. Please tune in.
And Richard, we got to bring it back for week 2 of our segment, Buy or Sell. I'm going to throw a couple topics at you. You tell me whether you're going to buy them or sell them. We're going to start with a journalistic hot take of the week that just got absolutely bashed by, I'm pretty sure, everyone. I know which way you're going to lean here, being a defensive guy, but Mel Kiper came out with the hot take of the week saying the NFL should ban the cover 2. Richard, you buying or selling this hot take?
I'm selling every bit of it, and I'm selling it, and I mean, I'm selling that Mel Kiper should give these kind of takes. Just stick to the draft at this point, because if you're saying stuff like that, then maybe creating rules and adjustments isn't for you. That's a ridiculous take. The defense is already handicapped by so many rules. I mean, illegal contact, pass interference, holding. Corners can't chop 350-pound linemen anymore. They're like, why is this corner just getting pushed over? Well, because the corner's 180 pounds and the guy that's pushing him is 345. Physics is something that we all learn in school, and if you didn't, well, you're getting an example on Sundays when you see corners and offensive linemen interact. It's not going to go well for the corner if they can't create a pile or they can't keep it inside or anything like that. So sell that, Mel. Just enough.
Stick to the draft.
Stick to the draft.
Yeah.
And I mean, stick to the draft.
Speaking of the draft, Richard, buy or sell? If we could rewind time a bit back to April, Jayden Daniels should have been the number 1 overall pick.
Uh-oh. But Mitchell, sometimes, and I've said this before, sometimes the benefit and the blessing is in not going number 1. It was C.J. Stroud the year before, where you're like, man, C.J. Stroud should have went 1. I'm sure C.J. Stroud is sitting right now in Houston, like, very happy to go to. This is probably the only time in my life that second is just where I want it to be. And this is the same situation with Jayden Daniels. He's walked into a situation where there's a different level of stability, a head coach, a different system, a different city, different coordinator, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes the right situation for you might not have been Chicago. Maybe he goes to Chicago and his season starts differently, and his maturity and his development isn't the same. We talked about, should first-year quarterbacks be starting? He just showed us that it is possible. C.J. Stroud showed us last year, it is possible to be efficient and develop with time on the job. And for him to have the highest completion percentage as a rookie in NFL history, his 3rd game into his career is incredible. So I'm buying that, Mitchell. It's hard not to buy that right now. And I'm trying to find because the Cincinnati Bengals played the Kansas City Chiefs last week. And so we got to see them against Patrick Mahomes. In this defense against Patrick Mahomes, and I mean, it was they held him to 26 points, and that's pretty good for Patrick Mahomes coached offense. They got weapons. Their defense is really good, and then for him to score more points than Patrick Mahomes is really something that you need to keep an eye on. These are 2 defenses, same defenses. He scored 38, Patrick scored 26. I'm obviously not saying he's anywhere in the stratosphere of Patrick Mahomes, but it just gives more credence that this is a defense that has played, and some guys that have played at a high level at times, and he really had his way with them. When he got pressure, it's sometimes complex looks, sometimes disguised looks that other quarterbacks struggle with. He was able to diagnose it, get the ball where it's supposed to be, only missed 2 throws, and even those 2 throws got criticized, so I'm buying him.
Love it. Richard, let's go to the NFC North. As much as it pains me to ask this question, I got to ask it. The Minnesota Vikings. I don't like you right now, Rich.
I'm sorry.
The Minnesota Vikings will win the North. Your thoughts, buy or sell? Please sell this, please, for the love of God.
Mitchell, I want to sell it. But Mitchell, I can't.
Oh, God.
Not right now. The stock is too hot. The Minnesota Vikings, if you really look at and we're gonna look at this in a microcosm, in a vacuum, because I'm gonna go down a tangent here. But if you look at Brian Flores' time in Miami, they went on some winning streaks, Mitchell, where they played really good defense. And that he was forced to play Tua Tagovailoa. And I know we heard all Tua's comments about Flores and all this, but I remember that season where Ryan Fitzpatrick was having a really good year. He went to San Francisco, and I think he might have thrown for 400. It was a really crazy game, and he just was having a really good season. And then out of nowhere, they decide to sit him and say they're playing Tua. And Tua struggled initially. You know, everybody was saying it's the offense and it's this and it's that. And I'm like, Fitz just threw for 400 with these same guys. So how is it the offense? And Tua can't throw for 100 yards. And obviously Tua's developed into, found the perfect place with Mike McDaniels, got it paid, playing really good football. But Brian Flores' defense has played historically well and given a lot of quarterbacks problems. And they won, I think, before he got fired from Miami, I think they won 7 straight to finish the season. And so it works. So to match that defense with Kevin O'Connell's offense, and during Kevin O'Connell's tenure, they've been a winning team. And Kirk Cousins got hurt, had the Achilles injury, so that knocked them off track. But they were even winning games with Dobbs because the system that he does a great job as a play caller, as a schemer, as a coach that understands situations, understands the defense. And then you got Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver in the National Football League. And then you insert Sam Darnold, who just seems like a hand-in-glove fit for this offense. It's just matches made in heaven, symbiosis all around within this organization. You talk about the home field advantage in Minnesota and that dome and the fans, the skull chants, Aaron Jones and his impact. I'm sure he's looking forward to another good revenge game, old-fashioned revenge game against the Green Bay Packers. But they're looking like a really complete team, and it's hard to find weaknesses to this team, especially when you got guys like the Ginkler. He leaves. He's coming in, making an impact. Grenard has 4 sacks. You're getting contributions all over the place. So it's not even like you can key on one guy and say, hey, we got to stop this guy. We got to stop this guy. The pressure's coming from everywhere. And you lost guys like Danielle Hunter, and that left holes that you're like, hey, how are they going to fill that hole? And it's schematically. They're doing it by committee. They're doing it it's a team effort. Everybody's eating. Everybody's getting home. And I got to buy them. They're true contenders for the NFC North, but contenders in these playoffs and contenders for the 1 or 2 seed, especially in this NFC that looks wide open.
Richard, I'm going to sell your decision to buy that one. I don't mean to right. But the reason is I think the Detroit Lions are just getting going, and I think they're going to show you that on Monday Night Football. I think you're going to be probably throwing that hat around that you're wearing quite a bit, because you're going to be in disgust when the Lions go and take a double-digit win on Monday night in prime time. But I will say this about the Vikings. I do like their roster a lot. They're playing without Jordan Addison, without TJ Hawkinson. Seemingly everyone wrote them off this offseason. No one thought the Vikings would even be remotely in contention for the North, let alone a borderline Super Bowl contenders at this point, what they look like. And the Vikings got a hell of a lot of talent on that roster. So I'm definitely nervous. I'm buying the fact that I'm nervous as hell about the Minnesota Vikings going forward.